Hey everybody, welcome back to the Queens Lair. I am your host, Kellie Miles, and today we're going to talk about a topic on faith in fashion. And so we're in the summer months, and while we're in the summer months, we got all of these wonderful different ideas and creative ways of fashion that we can come up with. So we're just going to talk about it a little bit. And with us today, we have Brieana Ofosu. Hey, Queen.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having
I
me.
am good. Of course, absolutely, absolutely. So, Brieana, I know that faith and fashion is somewhat of a passion for you, and you have a podcast called Faith and Fashion 360. So, tell us a little bit about your experience and your encounter and your passion with faith and fashion, and what you talk about a little bit on your podcast.
Sure. Fashion has always been, I'm actually not going to say always has been, but I think as I've gotten more comfortable with myself and who I am, it's made me more comfortable to really express myself, to be fashionable. And as a plus size model, I think, I kind of have the duality of, knowing where to find things and having the confidence to, to have things on and put them in a way. And I found that there was a need, like back in 2015, I started Faith and Fashion 360 as a blog, actually.
Mhm.
And that was just kind of like you dress up on Sundays and you're dressed from head to toe. You got all of the nice stuff on, not a hair is out of place. And it was one of those things where people are like, where'd you get that from? Because,
Right.
being plus size, sometimes you find that there's a gap in what everybody else is able to shop for and get versus what we're able to shop for and get. And praise God, there's been a lot of strides within that, but it still is, something that could definitely use some work. So it really just kind of came from I'm dressed up nice. This makes me feel good. I have it on. And, I was able to provide knowledge to other people about where they could find things, and things that would make them feel good. Not just, okay, this was over here. There's one shirt in 12 different colors, but really able to
Right.
express yourself and really able to say, okay, I enjoy this. I know that this was made for me. And that's just kind of what it's catapulted to. And, back in 2017, Faith and Fashion 360 kind of extended into the podcast, which is also, something that airs every Sunday on Funk Nation Radio. And that is where I just speak to being a millennial of faith, who
Hmm.
also is a wardrobe stylist, who also loves the culture, and really just bringing those things together. Because one of the things that I found in being a youth in Christ, I'm in my 30s now, but when I was younger, I didn't have a voice like my own to
Mm.
really make it okay to, number one, love Christ, and number two, do so in a way that didn't feel so restricted. Because I think that there's been so much. I think there's been so much tradition, kind of tied into the faith,
Yeah.
into loving God, that, we've been conditioned to feel like we can't do certain things, we can't be in certain places. And really, I just pride myself on being a woman of faith who models, a woman of faith who may listen to the occasional secular song, who may, just really understanding that all of those things can work together as long as your sole purpose and what you're doing is to edify the kingdom. And I do that in
Right.
every place I go. So that really is just kind of where it all kind of came from.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good stuff. And you see, I tried to dress up a little bit. I wanted to rise to
Yes.
the
You
occasion.
look cute. From everywhere down to the background, you look nice.
Thank you. Yes.
Love it.
So I felt like y'all had to try to throw on something a little fashionable, but you said something that was really, really key. And that's when you're a woman of faith and you're a woman of God. A lot of times we fall into the traditionalism that you're supposed to dress and look a certain kind of way. And people
Right.
get stuck in that and they fail to realize that your relationship with Christ is about your relationship with Christ. And he uses you for who you are, and there should be some standards that
For
we
sure.
are to live by when we're talking about our appearance and when we're talking about our faith and our fashion. There should be standards that we live by, but we should still be able to function and operate in our creativity based on who we are and our personalities, and know that that does not impact or affect our relationship with Christ, because
Absolutely.
he's
Yep.
going to still
Absolutely.
love us in spite of. So tell me your thoughts and your opinions when it comes to, keeping, how do you keep from focusing so much on your appearance? And
Right.
that could be focusing too much on your appearance as it pertains to feeling like you have to be restrictive, you can't be creative, you got to wear long skirts and high turtlenecks all the time. But it could
Right.
also go the other way of saying you're so focused on your fashion that you lose sight of the real key of your
Hmm.
relationship with Christ, not
Right.
necessarily to focus on the fashion. You see what I'm saying? Tell me
Right.
what your thoughts are there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, the number one thing that we have to ask ourselves is, God, what and who do you want me to be? How do you
Yeah.
want me to be? Because we're an extension. So just as much as we are an extension in the ministry, we're an extension, in our households, we're an extension in the way that we carry ourselves as
Yeah.
well. So I think a lot of the times when we get caught up in I can't, that starts to do certain things psychologically as well. Like I have
Hmm.
to, kind of hide myself. I have to, because that was a lot of the obstacle that I had as well. Feeling like I couldn't, show myself too much, like feeling like every, bit of accomplishment, feeling like every bit of, wearing a new pair of shoes, or having the things that God said that we are entitled to have. I feel
Yeah.
like that also, not to get, too off track, but I think, we have been conditioned in a way that the word has told us to be meek and mild and humble, and we've done so much that we don't feel like we can, go for a house. We don't feel like we can get that promotion. We don't, because we've conditioned ourselves to be in lack so much. We've conditioned ourselves to be like, okay, well, this is all I deserve. No, you deserve everything. You deserve
Hmm.
everything, from the way that you talk, the way that you speak, the way that you minister, and the way that you dress. So as long
Yeah.
as you're asking God, how can I be an extension of you? That's between you and him. I
Hmm.
think, we also do. We get caught up in the person to our left and our right and what they think. Um, and it has to be personal. It
Yeah.
has to be a personal relationship.
And God tells us that, he wants to bless us abundantly,
Right.
above and beyond measure. And so if he wants to bless us abundantly, then we have to be willing and able to receive that abundance in our own place of where we are, and not take on the restrictive mindset that we have
Yeah.
sometimes, because a lot of that stuff comes from our own perceptions and
And
interpretations and
experiences, and yeah.
experiences. And again, it comes from external factors from outside and other people, because the Bible says that we were made in his image, in his
Right.
likeness, which means we can speak those things that be not as though they are. So we can speak into our situation to change it, but we have to change our
To
mindset and
change
how
it
we think,
and turn it
to
around.
believe.
Absolutely. And I
We have to
one of the
believe it.
things that I've found too is that, in I don't want to get too far ahead, but even in teaching and just having my clients and things like that, during COVID, we got so comfortable. It was kind
Yep.
of like, I'm gonna have these sweatpants on, I'm gonna
Hmm.
be, and I'm gonna do whatever. But then that comes out in your work, that comes out in your lifestyle, that comes out in the way that you eat. So it really is also much of a holistic thing. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
all
is.
encompassing.
Because when you look good, you feel good. You feel better.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it can be whatever your perception of looking good
Right.
is, because
Exactly.
everybody is different. Everybody is
Yes.
creative, and that's the part that people have to be okay with their own personal uniqueness, because it's
Right.
what makes them special, and
Hmm.
not try to look at the other person and say, "Wow, man, I really wish I could be like her." No, you want to be you.
I
And
want you
it's
to be like
okay.
you. Yep.
Right. And it's okay. Now you might like those pairs of shoes that she might have on or something, and you might want to go cop them shoes, but you don't want to be her. It's okay to
Right.
be who you are. And you talked about being a plus size model and the differences that, you have in shopping than other people who may have shopping. But it's interesting because each and every one of us has one particular challenge that we look at that thinks is so much different than someone else, when we
Right.
all have the same concept of a challenge, we just
Hmm.
all view it and look at it differently. And so, with that being said, there's people who are out there who might be on the other end of the spectrum. Like when I was younger, I wore a 00. I could never
Right.
find any clothes. And I used to
Right.
be so upset because I was like, I felt like I was too small. I was too little. People were laughing and teasing me. I was the stick. They called me olive oil from Popeye. You know, olive oil from Popeye.
Yeah.
They used to
Yeah.
call
That's
me,
foul.
yeah,
That's foul. Yeah.
yeah. So,
That was
but
like
that's
the
what people
ultimate
do.
diss back in the day. That was
Right.
like the ultimate. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you have people from opposite ends of the spectrum, and the problem is people don't want to accept themselves for who they are and be okay with it. So talk about where you came from and how you came to have the confidence that you have. Because girl, I'm gonna tell you, I will give you your props, high five. You have amazing confidence, which is what a lot of women need, regardless of plus size, small size, or anything, just across the board as a woman. How did you
Right.
get to that place of having that confidence to walk in it and be proud of it no matter what?
My mama. My
All
mama.
right, mama.
Yeah, God rest her soul. But I really I think that it really starts with the words that we speak to ourselves and the words that other people around us
Self-talk.
speak to us too.
Hmm.
I was also a very big daddy's girl as well. And I think that, just genuinely I've had people around me who are like, you are so beautiful, you are gorgeous, you are, and mind you, of course, that's always going to come with the people on the outside of the home that are going to try to tell you otherwise. But if you're getting that reinforcement within
Yeah.
your environment, there's
Hmm.
nothing that anybody can tell you that's going to say otherwise. So I'm not going to say that people didn't have, snide remarks about my weight and different things to say about my weight and what have you, but I didn't take that home with me. And I think, one
Right.
of the things that our kids struggle with now is that unfortunately they're not being fed and edified where they need to, whether that's at
Yeah.
home, whether that's within a friend circle or what have you. But even now as an adult, it might not, it's not necessarily mommy and dad, but it's my husband, it's my friends, it's the people and the connections that I have around me that are saying, listen, you're fantastic, you can do all things. And then growing further in my relationship with God too, listen,
Hmm.
if God be for us, who can be against us? Not
Yeah.
a one. So,
Yes.
really just taking that in my environment, there was nothing that could be told otherwise. So yeah, that's definitely, I would say that for sure.
Yeah, and I like that because one of the things is one of the key factors you said too is those external people outside,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
outside of that circle, because people outside of the circle, somebody told me years ago, and I never forgot it. I was a young girl, and somebody told me I was so all upset about something somebody said about me, or somebody said this and that, and it was like, Kelly, you're going to be in the tabloids whether you want to or not. You're always going
Right.
to be in the tabloids. And that struck me because it's like, you know what? Yeah, somebody's going to always have something to say.
They're gonna have
And
something to say,
who,
whether it's good or bad. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And who do I allow to get into my personal space to manipulate my emotions? I have to be able to say, okay, I hear what you're saying. And I got to the point where people used to say, oh, you so skinny, you this, you that. And then I would say to them, okay, you know what? That's okay, because maybe I'm not for you. And I would say that even when it came to guys when I was dating back in the day, okay, well, if that I'm not for you. If it's
Right.
something that you don't like and this is who I am from my core, I'm sorry, then I'm just not for you. And I had to
Right.
be comfortable within myself to come to that point and get to that confidence. And so that's beautiful that your mom poured that into you and that you started to feel like you were enough, that those outside forces weren't able to
Hmm.
penetrate.
Nobody's raggedy son, nobody, a little girl that was growing into herself and trying to make me feel bad because she feels bad. And I think, also my education helps with a lot of that background. My husband always says to me, he's like, you're just so understanding about everything. I was like, I don't think it's that. I think that, really understanding what people might not have gotten, what they
Yeah.
didn't get at home, the things people didn't say to them. I always think about, the roots and understanding that we're all growing. So when somebody says something to me about entrepreneurship, about fashion that may seem negative, I just, liken it to, they haven't quite gotten to where they need to get to in their journey yet. That,
Yeah.
they're not feeling the best about what I'm doing because they're not feeling the best about what they're doing just yet.
Yeah, and a lot of people do
So
that. They project their feelings onto you, onto other
yeah.
people.
And that was one of the things I've always said is I can't take advice from somebody or let somebody tell me who I am when they don't know who they are yet.
No,
You can
no.
tell. You can tell when somebody is not 100% there yet. So, that's also one of the things that I try to teach as well. It's like people are going to have something to say. People are
No
going to
matter what.
try to make you feel less than because there's something in you, there's something that you're doing that's pricking their spirit a little bit.
Mhm. And
So,
not even just that, but not everybody that don't know themselves can speak into you, but even people that don't know you. Because if
right.
you
Oh,
don't know
sure.
me,
Definitely.
there you can't have a whole lot to say about
Right.
what I do and
Right.
why I
At
do
least
what
not
I do.
confidently anyway. You can say
No, you
what you want
can't.
to say, but it's like, okay.
But
Okay.
it's funny because don't people sometimes feel like they have these things that they have to say with a conviction, like they do
Very
know and they don't?
entitled. Very entitled. So it's like, okay. And then I owe okay people to death, Kelly. I'm telling you. I'm like,
Right.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Because again, so you might need that validation that what you said was something, but I, I don't got nothing for you. So,
Right.
that's really just what I think. It's so important to be centered within yourself and really have that relationship with God that
Yeah.
nobody can tell you otherwise.
And that's the key. That's another really key component that you said, even before is just having that relationship with God. It
Mhm.
makes a real difference because we were fearfully, each and every one of us was fearfully and wonderfully made. And when
Absolutely.
we say fearfully, that means he took time to take every intricate detail of who we are, from our physical appearance to our personalities, to our
Right.
emotions, our spirit. He took every little detail, and he was very careful in how he created it, and wonderfully, because he didn't make a mistake. God didn't
You
make a mistake
cannot.
on any of us when he
Right.
created us with our disabilities, with our shortcomings, with all of those broken pieces that we are in this
Right.
clay. He created us fearfully and wonderfully made, and so there is no mistake with us, and that he's made in us, and we all have a purpose for who we are and how we are, because we have an audience we're supposed to reach, and we can't
Yeah.
reach the audience trying to be somebody else.
Right. They're missing out on the message because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with somebody you saw on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't do that. And it's somebody, this is another lesson that I learned, and I think I mentioned this in a previous episode too. But somebody had said to me one time, I was at a women's conference, and it was like teaching a lesson on staying in your lane. If you don't stay in your lane for the gifts and talents that you have, because you're so busy looking at somebody else over there, you are missing out on your own blessing. And not only that, you could be knocking somebody else off of their lane from what they're supposed to be doing. And while you so busy looking at them and you trying to
Right.
get in their lane, your lane is unmanned. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not
Right.
reaching the goal that you're supposed to reach because you're so busy looking at everybody else and trying to do what they're doing when you're not serving your purpose because you're too busy focusing on that. So we got to learn how to be focused on ourselves and what God has for us to do and the
And be
gifts and talents that we
intentional
have.
about
Yeah.
everything that you're doing. Be so intentional because
Yeah.
it is it's easy. It is easy, definitely in the age of social media. It's easy. You know, with that comparison, we are very quick to compare ourselves to other people, compare our journey to others, compare everything that we're doing to other people. And it is good to have um it's good to have somebody like, wow, you're doing the thing. And I really, appreciate it. It's good to see people, but not
Mhm.
see them so much that you're unable to see yourself, that you're
Yeah.
unable to see all of the things and possibilities that's within you.
Yeah.
I have had times where, you know, that imposter syndrome sets in.
Yep.
where you don't feel like you are equipped for certain assignments, where you don't feel like you're equipped to do certain things. And then, I'll pass up on something. I won't do something out of fear, out of doubt, out of negative self talk. Then I'll look up and I'm seeing somebody else do it a quarter as well as I could have done it.
Mm.
But guess what? They
Mhm.
did it. They stepped out and they
You
did it.
did
And
it.
I didn't, and I did not.
Mm.
So, really stepping out and really, doing things afraid, doing it scared, doing it when it doesn't look perfect is so important, because you learn more about, you know, what you're capable of, so that okay, God, the rest of this is yours.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. That imposter syndrome, man, that is something else. That's a topic for a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other day.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. But it's so true, and it's so important, and it's unfortunate that there's so many women that have gone through that or still going through that with the imposter
Right.
syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed during COVID, I had like a very, very creative time. Like it was, a time where I really just kind of like nurtured my businesses, nurtured, what I was doing. I had just had a baby, and during that time where you had no other choice, you couldn't go anywhere else. You couldn't really, you know what I mean? Like we were kind of locked
Yeah.
down a little bit to really focus on ourselves and focus on what we're doing. And I find now that those same people who had those fervent, big, grand, fantastic ideas are now kind of like, I don't really, I don't know. I don't think that. And it's like, no, 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 no. I'm still like, I know it's over. I know we've kind of like, come through that season, but I'm still in like a COVID mindset. Really sitting in quiet and sitting in peace and not running to be, with the crowd and not running to be around other people is such a sacred and sovereign thing to do, especially when you're creative. When you
Yeah.
are, and I mean creative in music, creative in arts, creative in podcasting, creative in, you know what I mean? Creative in television. When you're creative, it's so important because we can get bogged down by so many different images, opinions, aesthetics, and different things that, like you said, we lose out and we miss out on our own assignment. Because I looked at somebody else's work and I was like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna pick a piece of that. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna pick a piece of that. Well, and by the time you look up, it's like this Frankenstein mess instead of what it truly could have been had you just made it your own and just kind of
Yeah.
stepped into your own power.
And
So,
it's
you
nothing
know,
wrong with getting ideas from
oh
people.
yeah, right,
It's
right,
nothing wrong with, taking the value that somebody else has and add it to your value. It's
right.
nothing wrong with that, but you can't try to make what they have yours. You know
It's
what I
not gonna
mean?
work.
It's
It's
not
not
going to
gonna
work.
work.
And just like you said, when you were saying something about you saw somebody else doing an idea or similar to what you were supposed to do, but you didn't step out and they did, and it was only a quarter of what you could have done. And it's like when you really, really think about it, if you take what you have, it doesn't matter how many people, and this is for people who feel like, oh, I don't want to do because they're doing it too and they're doing the
Right,
same thing.
right.
So what? Because the way you do it is going to be completely different from how
Completely
anybody else
different.
does it. It's
Right.
not going to be comparable to what everybody else does. And it specifically needs to be that way so that it can reach the target audience that you have, because
There are
those other
millions
people, they are going to
of
do
people
it
in the
that
world.
way.
Yep, there are
Yes.
millions of people in the world, and that's one of the things that I've been taught. Also, I have, in addition to everything else, I also have a beauty and cosmetics brand, and that was one of the
Oh,
things that
cool. Now,
always
see, I didn't know that. You
yeah,
holding out on me. You ain't tell me about that. Well, come
yes,
on, tell me about that.
it is called. So that was actually something that I started back during in COVID. So I think it was maybe like a couple months old before COVID started.
Mhm.
It's called Bella and Co Beauty. And it's a beauty and cosmetics brand. And that again birthed from my experience in modeling, from being
Wow.
backstage and realizing that the beauty teams were not always prepared for African Americans.
Okay.
So I have had, mishaps with makeup. I've had mishaps with hair, to the point where I had to start being my own makeup artist. And,
Yeah.
I found myself backstage helping people with their highlighter, helping people with their hair, and really just, edifying them before they go out on the runway. Because imagine being in a space where you are supposed to feel your most confident and your hair's not done, your makeup is 5 shades too light, it does something to your ministering on the runway. It
Yeah.
does something to your job credibility. It does something to your possible job opportunities. So, Bella and Co Beauty is just really a space where, again, you find your own beauty. That is really just my overarching, finding your own beauty, finding your own fashion, finding what that means for you. So we carry a bunch of different beauty and cosmetics items. We're getting ready to start doing jewelry and things of that nature as well. So yeah, I'll share the website with you, but
Yes.
that's also my baby.
Please do share that website. But
Yeah.
so now, on those lines, I think this is an awesome time because we have a quick video of some summer fashion for you guys to kind of consider as you're going through the summer months. We're in July. You want to have some nice outfits that are going to be nice for this summer. So we're going to share this quick video with you so that you guys can get some ideas on your summer wardrobe.
So thanks to Fashion to Figure, I now realize that light blue is my summer color. I am wearing the Tamika satin sleeveless top and jogger set, this super soft silk material, the crop top, the peephole. It is all getting a thumbs up from me. I am also wearing the Essentials midi dress in the color Aqua Coast. Both items are in a size 2.
That was beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
love, love,
Thank you.
love
Thank
those
you.
colors. I love,
Yes.
actually, that's one of the accent colors that I have in my family room in the house. I have the
Ooh.
turquoise and the different colors like that as accents. So I love that color. So tell us about how did you figure out, just really quickly, how do people figure out what their color is for the summer? What are
Mm.
some fashion tips for the summer? Let's end on that note, with you just giving some people, just looking at that, some fashion tips for the summer that they can be ready and prepared for.
Sure. So I would definitely say to look at what you have in the closet, and look at the colors that you frequent and the colors that you like and the colors that make you feel good. I think that there are a million and one charts, a million and one, boards and things like that that you could refer to. But what makes you feel good? What's a color that you took a picture and you were like, wow, that looks fantastic. Go with that color. Go with that silhouette. If you feel like you are having a hard time figuring out what that is, number one, hit me up, reach out. I will definitely help you. But fashion really is so much about what you make it. As we see a lot of the old, what we thought was old and vintage has now
Yep.
come back and
Yep.
resurfaced and reshaped and got, a revelation. So, I think it's important to really stick to what's comfortable for you, what feels good for you. Don't worry about spending hundreds of dollars. It's not necessary. Just do what's comfortable and what makes you happy. If you feel like it's getting a little stale, I can definitely help you jazz it up a little bit, but go with what feels good for you. And
Yeah.
that's all I got.
That's good. That's good. I love that. And like you said, it doesn't have to be super expensive. You
Right.
can go to Target, Walmart. I'm gonna tell you, you might
Amazon.
Amazon, I'm gonna tell you, you might tell me off for this one, but I'm gonna put it out there. You'll even find some nice some little nice pieces and stuff at a Goodwill in a Plato's Closet or something like that.
Oh, for
Psh,
sure. For
okay, good. You get,
sure.
because some people
Listen,
be telling me off about that,
thrifting.
but you can find some good
Yeah.
pieces in those stores
Thrifting
too.
is thrifting is fantastic because, again, people throw away things and they don't really see like the value in it, but there's so much value. I mean, I have found some six-figure pieces at a Goodwill because somebody didn't understand the value of it. So don't sleep on
Mm,
thrifting. Don't sleep on the
mm.
Goodwill and the Salvation Armies, and don't sleep on them. You'll find some good
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, this was awesome. This was amazing. Thank you so much, Brieana, for coming on and sharing that information. You guys, you will see her website and her contact information here. If you want to check her out, make sure you check out her website. Make sure you check out her podcast, Fashion Faith and Fashion 360, so that you guys can catch up with her. And if you need any tips for the summer, further than what you've gotten so far, make sure y'all hit her up. And thank you so much, Brieana, for jumping on today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. So we are getting ready to close out. I think I'm going to have one more episode of Faith and Fashion where we're going to talk about some clothing lines and things like that, where you guys can get some other tips and ideas from someone else who does faith and fashion as well. They don't have Faith and Fashion 360. That's Brieana. But they have a line as well. So we're going to get those people on so that you can check us out and see some stuff. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube page right here. If you check out our YouTube page, you'll be able to see some other episodes and you'll be able to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe so that you can stay tuned and stay in the loop. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the Queens Lair. Stay tuned for the next episode.